Hello, coming up on today's show, we talk about non-essential shops opening and have we been queuing outside. Also, we talk about pet cruelty as there's more and more cases in Lincolnshire's news as we come out of lockdown. And we finished on the case of theme parks. Are they going out the window or still popular? All that coming up on today's show. Good evening, welcome to this week's Loose Links. The thrill seeker himself, Anthony Walker, is with us. Some people call her a pussycat, but we think she's a lion. It's Cat Cornter, I've nearly said it wrong.
Hello.
And now Primark's open, she can buy a brand new wardrobe for Loose Links. It's Claire Brown in May.
Hey!
Where are you, Claire?
Hiding!
Join us this week as we talk about Primark opening its doors again and queues of people waiting to get in. Is this really essential? Can we wait for clothes? And is it really important to stand? Would you stand an hour and a half outside a shop waiting for some new clothes? Also, we discuss animal cruelty as animals are getting more and more locked away and abandoned. We discuss, should there be a stricter system in claiming an animal and what we think of animal cruelty. And we finish on a seaside resort upgrading their theme park. But are we thrill seekers or are we stay at home with a book and maybe fall asleep with a glass of wine? All that and a lot more on this week's Loose Links. Good evening, panel!
Evening.
First of all, Anthony Walker, where the hell are you?
I am in Ant Skywalker's Death Star bar.
Oh my word. My word. So,
bar at the bottom of my garden.
So when we can then, we're all coming round to yours for our first Loose Links meetup. Is that all right?
Yes, because if I don't take some money soon, I'm afraid I might go bust.
Definitely. Kat, it's nice to see you again. It's been a while since we've had you on screen. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
Good. And Claire Brown in May. I can't say that it's been a while since we've seen you on screen, but it's good to have you back. You always put a smile on my face, so it's good to have you back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Let's start with last week's polls, as we always do, because I say it's your show as well as ours, so it's really important that you get your say. If you do not join in with the polls, please do. It's really important that you get your say on what we think as well. Sorry, I lost the poll answers then. I was just starting to panic. Right. So this week's polls were with 5G hitting Lincolnshire, will you be the one jumping on the bandwagon and running to the shops about it, or are you not that bothered? So 11% of you said no, really not interested at all, and 89% of you said yes, I will be looking into this. Second poll was, do you feel like technology is scary now and taking over? 100% of you said yes, it is scary and taking over, and they are quite frightened of it. So thank you for getting in contact. Make sure you keep in contact with us all. Make sure you contact. If there's a special birthday out there for anybody, I was thinking about this week. If there's a special birthday and you know somebody watches the show, please get in touch and we will make a massive thing on screen for them. So please let us know birthdays and stuff like that, because it'd be great to hear from you. You can get us on the Facebook group, Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, Gmail, which is Loose Links, looselinks@gmail.co.uk. I stumbled then. And TikTok. Make sure you do TikTok as well. We were thinking about Instagram this week, and we were thinking about doing a challenge. It's completely up to you if you want to do this challenge. But if you do watch the show, we want to see how you watch the show as a family. So if you go onto your Instagram page, take a picture of yourself, you, friends, family, whoever you watch the show with, and put @Loose Links at the top, we will see all your photographs of you watching the show. So if you are interested, please take the challenge. I'll do a live video sometime this week to introduce that a little bit more. But on to today's show. Are we ready, panel? And my word, the lioness is here tonight, which is Claire Brown in May, so I'm ready for heated debate. So we start off, our first topic is Primark was again to go to let me start that again. Primark, again, the go-to place on Lincoln High Street on Tuesday, as non-essential shops shopping frequency continued in the city. Hundreds flocked to Lincoln High Street on Monday in eager anticipation of non-essential shops reopening. And the trend appears to have continued last Tuesday. The queue at the Lincoln branch of the discount fashion trade filled the barriers outside the store and spiraled out onto the high street up to the Stonebow. Before we get into this, I was there, and my word, town was just mental. Like, social distancing had completely gone out the window. Does this surprise you on clothes shops and people standing outside shops, non-essential shops, to get into something like a clothes shop? Is this something that shocks you, panel?
I think there's some sort of, say I personally wouldn't, but I do sort of get some people wanting to go there. For example, I know quite a few parents who yes, you've been able to get clothes online or from Asda and Tesco's, but compared to Primark prices, those are still quite expensive, even the cheaper places. So you've got a kid who's growing. You don't particularly want to buy something that's, good, exceptional quality. You don't want to be spending a fortune because the kid's going to grow out of it. And particularly people who say, like, maybe, don't have the, sort of like most money in the world. Primark is somewhere that can, give them a lot of clothes for the children. So in a sense, I can sort of see that concept. But
on day one, Kat, really?
That's my main issue, day one. Maybe sort of give it a few weeks.
I'm just utterly shocked at the. I don't want to. I'm trying to think of ways of not actually naming the store and slagging the store off, because I'm not. And I get people want to get back shopping again, and I get this and I get that and I get the other. But if you went to a non-essential shop, would you really queue outside for an hour and a half to get into a clothes shop when we've already got clothes? Do you know what I mean? Unless you've put a ton of weight on, and my word, nothing fits you in the wardrobe anymore, and you're absolutely desperate to get an item of clothing, I just find it a bit. Really? If I would have took one look at it and thought, I've got a Primark voucher that I got at Christmas. There's no way I'm going in Primark till about September. And also, the shop was quite busy. Yes, I get that we've lowered lockdown now, but that's not saying COVID is gone. That's not saying we're all free and we're all safe now. Do you get what I'm saying? What do you think, Anthony?
I think it is absolutely crazy. I cannot believe people are sat at home for the last 3 months thinking, I've got to go to Primark, Now, we all know Primark's successful and it's busy at the best of times. But from that first day, people queuing up, I saw it on the news, Nottingham was the same. people was just saying, like you say, there's a pandemic still going on, and have people just forgotten about it? You know, let's say, I don't know, in 4 weeks' time we're going to another lockdown. These same people that queued up for hours and went in a store full of hundreds of people would be the first people to moan about that.
Do you think, though, in a sense that it could be, you know, the news that's potentially, you know, particularly after the first lockdown, reporting the queues, you know, and debating about whether people are going to go back and queue in front of Primark, they could be sort of like creating some sort of, you know, fever around it. And so people this time, you know, there could be a bigger queue because people have gone, oh, we want to be part of that. And kind of forgotten.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there completely. And
Yeah.
I think some of it is that we've missed human connection so much that actually to stand in a queue and talk to people is quite a luxury. But Claire, if there was a system that Primark, there are other retail shops available, by the way. We're not just because Primark was in the news. This is why we're talking about Primark. If there was like a system like the doctor's surgery are doing at the moment, and I went to the dentist last week. I had to book an appointment. I had to wait outside. I had to do all that, and they'll let me in and walk me through. And I couldn't go to the door until I got a text message and this, that, and the other. Do you think retail places should be thinking like that?
I could say that, yes, I think they should, but they won't, because, of course, they've been on lockdown for so long that they've lost all this money. And I think people, again, have been locked down. Now they've been told that they can go to shops, so they will queue because, you know, it doesn't matter if it's Primark or whatever shop it is. They know now that they can do that. The restrictions have been lowered. And it's up to the stores themselves of how many they allowed in and out. You know, you've got the supermarkets with the green lights because they're supposed to know exactly who goes in, who comes out. And if you're saying that it looked really busy inside, well, there should have been, say, someone paroling it to find out exactly if they are adhering to the amount of numbers that should be in there. But I don't think the system that you were saying, like doctors and that, I don't think that would work. There's too many people.
Do you feel like the first lockdown is very different to the second lockdown? Like, I remember queuing outside a supermarket to get in.
Yes.
Second lockdown, that hasn't happened at all.
Well, no. The first lockdown, I can remember, like you just said a year ago, queuing up outside. And everyone walked down one aisle, and then the next aisle you walk the opposite way through the store. It's a free-for-all now once you get in the supermarket.
Yeah.
You know, and what's changed?
And even though they say like 2 meters apart, 2 feet apart, they're not. Yeah. You know, you're browsing at something, and you'll get someone lean over you to get what they want. You know, I'm not bothered if you've got a face mask on. Get out my space. Yeah. You know,
but Kat, do you think that's the person's responsibility, or do you think that's the staff's responsibility in the shop?
I definitely think we should all take some sort of personal responsibility for it. We shouldn't pin it on people who are working in shops just to, you know, we're not children. We are, you know, most people are adults. You know, obviously, if it's a child who comes up to me, you know, I'm a bit more sort of lenient. They don't know. But with the majority of adults, obviously some have conditions and issues, that we should be able to take responsibility. We shouldn't need people telling us what to do 100% of the time. But you do also need, you know, staff in the shop to an extent to stand up for, say, for people who can't, you know, maybe are struggling with lockdown or potentially struggling to social distance. And, you know, there needs to be a bit on both sides. You know, yes, the shops need to do a bit, but also people need to take responsibility for their own actions.
But Claire, do you think we're moaners? Because in one stage we're moaning about, oh, people need to stay away and this, that and the other, and people need to keep the distance and they're not listening, and this, that and the other, and they need to take the rules properly. But in the other case, that same person might be walking into Primark shop, walking around hundreds of people and not giving a toss because their main focus is getting what they want.
I think majority of people are not happy unless they're moaning anyway, you know, and they can say something in one respect, but do exactly what they didn't want to do in another respect. You know what I mean? Exactly what you've just said. Why they do it, I don't know. Like I say, things from the first lockdown are a lot different to the second lockdown, even though there's a lot of, you know, still a lot of deaths and that. But it's scary. No, people will do what they want to do, you know, and they'll forget what they've said if they've said it before. You know, like say with Primark opening, people just want one to get out, and two, it is a you know, a reasonable price shop.
It's the same with beer gardens, though. No offences against pubs at all. I know that you need to reopen and stuff like that, but the amount of beer gardens that I walk past, I remember I did go into town. I will admit it. In the first lockdown, when things were starting to ease, I did go into town, and I went into town with a friend, and we did an evening. But we walked into the bar, you had to scan your phone, you had to be walked over. It wasn't like a proper night out. You had to be walked over to a table. Then a bartender would come over, assist with what you went to the bar, all of that. But I've come down to this second lockdown and beer gardens have opened again. And Anthony, I'm going to come to you because you're sat at the bar yourself. Beer gardens are opening again, but social distance has gone out the window. Like tables are clumped together, stuff like that. And I just think, where are people's brains?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I actually went out for a meal Friday night in the beer garden. And I will give the place I went to credit because it wasn't people where you were sat at your table, away from other people, and you weren't allowed to get up and move about and mingle. You were only allowed to go to the toilet, and it was well policed and organised.
Yeah.
But again, it wasn't like a normal night out because you just sat, if there's four of you on a table, that's it. Whereas on a normal night out, you'd probably be four of you, you'd know someone else in there, you'd go and have a chat, you'd actually go up to the bar or whatever, and you couldn't, everything was brought to your table.
Yeah. And the thing is, people will say, won't they? They will say, well, you don't get the same atmosphere and this, that and the other. But to me, my argument is still, buy a bottle of wine from Aldi and sit in the garden. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So much safer at the moment. There is no way I'm hitting into town. My birthday is the end of July. I'd like to remind you all, panellists, because I'm hopefully going to have a big birthday night out where we can all meet and stuff like that, which is the end of July. So I'm hoping we're at a bit more ease then so we can do it. And because I just think if shops have been mental, since non-essential shops have been mental, imagine when clubs properly open in June. It's going to be unbearable. But moving forward, have you ever stood outside a shop really early for the sales? So, pure example, on Boxing Day, next to a massive sale, and people queue from like 5 in the morning to get into the shop. Are you guilty of this? Claire, I'm coming to you first because I can see your face a little bit.
No. I couldn't think of anything worse than getting out my nice cozy bed to go and queue up with all those people scrambling for something that. No, I'm sorry. No. I mean, Primark, as you go back to that opening, when was it, Monday? A friend of mine said she was going. I went, really? I said, oh, just pick me a couple of things up. So she queued, but no way was I queuing. No way. But no, it's not my thing. I am a bargain hunter, but not to.
But what if your children wanted to go, Claire? What if they woke up one morning and said to you on Christmas Day, tomorrow, Mum, I really, really want to go to the next sale, and they open at 7 a.m. and I really want to be there by about 4:15, because I really want to get into the shop and get the sales done. What would you do?
Sorry, no, I won't be able to drive because I would have been drinking the day before. and said, no, you'll have to go. You'll have to go on your own.
I would have been drinking the day before. Kat, are you one for being stood outside at stupid o'clock in the morning for a sale?
I think the only time I've ever been stood outside a shop at, stupid o'clock in the morning was when the Harry Potter books were released.
Oh, you didn't? Was you one of those people?
Yeah, we were stood outside. It used to be, I think it's where Waterstones were.
Yeah.
It was Ottica's. But I was sort of like part of the generation growing up. I think at the time I was probably about 12, 13.
So about a year ago then?
No.
It'd be interesting to know then. Is it a good atmosphere? Is it exciting? Is everybody talking, or is everybody just half scared and can't wait to get?
It was sort of like for that it was a good atmosphere because the store because it was and it was, even though we were miles away from even thinking about COVID and things, it was really well organized. There was it was a formal queue. But all the people there were dressed up in Harry Potter costumes and, because it was specifically for one particular thing that was being sold, there was that good atmosphere.
I don't do dress up at all.
Whereas, say, I don't think, I've never stood outside for like a clothing shop or a neck sale or something like that. But I wouldn't have thought potentially that would have the same sort of atmosphere because you're going for, yes, you might be going for clothes, but it's different things. It's not sort of like a fandom as.
But the thing is, Anthony, does it really advertise you to stand in the cold or maybe the rain and it's not very warm at stupid o'clock in the morning, is it? To get a book or an item of clothing, or are you a person that'll think, I'll just get it when at a normal time, really?
No, I've got no interest in queuing up for anything like that whatsoever.
Have you not?
I've spent far too many years queuing up to get in concerts, and that was bad enough.
Oh no! See, I can't even be bothered with that.
Yeah,
If somebody says to me, "Do you fancy going to?" I need to become more social. I think this is the biggest thing that I need to concentrate on coming out of lockdown. But like someone will say to me, "Oh, should we go and watch?" I don't know. Take that. Should we go and watch it? I'd rather wait for the DVD to come out. I'd rather sit at home in my dressing gown, eating rubbish, and just enjoying it. It just doesn't interest me at all. But let us know. You are the fifth panel member. Tell us if you've stood up. Before we move on, Kat, what was Stupid O'Clock? It
was so the book was released at 1 minute past midnight.
Oh, that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Kat, I'm ashamed. Absolutely ashamed. But let us know, you're the fifth panel member. Have you stood outside a shop and waited for ages for a book or maybe even a t-shirt? Not for me. My final question on the topic: are you happy with how lockdown is easing, and do you think people are listening and taking advice on what they were given? Claire, let's go to you first.
Yes, I am pleased because I do feel for all these companies. I mean, there's a lot of small businesses that have gone under, and I think you see a lot of posts where they say buy local, and I think that's what we should do, because you get like these big outlets and they're going to make the money, aren't they? But we've got to try and stick to the smaller places.
Are they? Let's go over to you, Kat. Are they? Because places like VHS, some Costas, they are having to close stores down. Argos's, stuff like that. So we do talk about supporting the smaller businesses, but do you feel the bigger businesses are collapsing and suffering just as much as the smaller?
I think it's difficult to say because there's, obviously there's some smaller businesses that have suffered and some larger businesses that have suffered as well. But then there's other ones who have, taken lockdown at a flying, sort of like actually made money. I think it depends on what industry you're in. Say like whether you're a small business or a large business doing takeaway food, you think you going to have, have had an, absolutely great time during lockdown because, people haven't been able to go and eat out. So when people want something, they'll go to a takeaway instead rather than having a meal out at a restaurant. But obviously, say restaurants and pubs and clothing shops, whether you're big or small, you have suffered.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, Anthony, do you think that lockdown rules have been listened to?
Yes and no. I was in Skegness Saturday to see family, and it was chaotic. You wouldn't believe there'd been a lockdown.
Anthony, I don't suppose you can move the microphone any nearer to you, only because it's very hard to hear what you're saying. That's better. Repeat what you said.
Right, yes and no. I was in Skegness at the weekend, and it was chaotic.
Was it?
It was, and the amount of people about with no face masks on, you wouldn't have known there'd been a lockdown.
Really? Does stuff like that scare you, Claire?
Oh God, yeah. But well, again, we're still in this pandemic. There's still, thousands of people who haven't even had the first vaccine. Like the younger people, let alone the second vaccine. We've been in lockdown. Are we going to go into another one? Because if we're not adhering to what we're supposed to be doing, like I say, with social distancing and face masks and things, and yeah, it's okay that, the government have said, right, you can now, pubs are open, but, you've got to do this, that and the other. But like Anthony said, he's gone to Skegness and all of a sudden it's like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Well, the other thing, though, is, Kat, that we can adhere by... I think pubs are going to suffer the most. I really do, because they've got a disadvantage straight away. So I know there's time slots at the moment, and I know you can only be in 2 hours time slots and stuff like that. But I do know personal people that have gone round booking different time slots so they can carry on the drinking session. I think pubs are at a bigger disadvantage straight away because the thing is, you walk into a pub sober. As the drinking afternoon comes on, some people change when they have a drink. Some people are a bit more touchy-feely, some people. And I think all measures and what we're supposed to be doing once you've had a drink and you're heavy drinking, is going to go out the window. Surely, don't you agree, Anthony?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Too many idiots out there who just thought, right, let's go out. It's first time out, and we'll just get smashed.
Yeah.
Staggering. I've seen them over the weekend. Well, actually, I work opposite a pub, and you can see them.
Yeah.
You can staggering about. I won't say, well, I haven't been out for a good session for a year. But, if people want to do that, that's fine. But, like I say, if we go into another lockdown, who's going to be the first people to know? It's going to be them.
Exactly. Tell us what you guys think. Anyway, you are the fifth panel member at home. Your opinion is just as opinionated as ours. So please let us know what you think about essential shops opening. Have you been queuing to get into a shop? Are you nervous about stepping out that front door still? Or are you happy to queue for hours on end to get a new crop top? Tell us what you think. Share your discussion and your views with us. Anthony, I'm sure you would look amazing in a crop top. But moving on slightly, we're going to discuss the RSPCA has released harrowing images after 5 dogs were left to live among piles of excrement with no food in Lincolnshire, resulting in 1 being put to sleep. This was heartbreaking, actually. I was going to share the pictures. The pictures are absolutely heartbreaking, but I don't think it's appropriate, really. But it did get me thinking, and I just thought maybe we need to talk about it. So, panel, do you think there should be a harder system to getting an animal if you want one? Kat, let's go to you.
I think it depends where you're getting the animal from. There's some rescue centres which I do think in some of them are too strict of what of their rules of letting you get a pet. For example, we actually adopted a dog yesterday, and that was after quite a few rescue centres turned us down because we have kids under the age of 10. Now, my partner runs a doggy daycare. The kids are around dogs all the time. They know how to manage around dogs, and we know about that. We know about how to train them how to respect the dog. So in that sort of sense, I think there's too many rules. But then when you come on to the actual dog breeders, I don't think there's enough. There's doing the job that my partner does. There are so many people who say, like, who have come to us, and I think the most extreme one was there was someone who messaged us saying they were an essential worker, they were a shift worker, they were going to be working 3 days a week, but some of those could be nights, and the dog, they don't know whether the sorry, my cat has just decided to stand on my laptop talking about pets. They said they didn't know, whether they would leave the dog at home when they work the night and then just give it to us in the day to look after it, or whether it would be with us all night and all day. And we're like, okay, this sounds a bit wrong. And she went, could you let us know whether you've got any availability? But I haven't got the dog yet. And we're like, if you're working that long, just get a cat. And fingers crossed that they wouldn't, sort of like some breeder wouldn't let her. But there are so many people who've gone out during lockdown. The amount of dogs we have in who are under a year old, who are lockdown puppies, and people have just gone out in lockdown and gone, oh look, it'll be fun to get a dog.
I think I slightly disagree though, Kat. And I'm not stating, obviously you run a doggy daycare, and this isn't a reflection on Kat at all or her business, but I do know that I don't think for companies, I don't think it's hard enough, and I think those questions do need to be asked, because the thing is, we are getting more and more, and I'm not saying your company is at all. This is not talking about Kat's company, but there are lots of companies out there that have answers from people. Yes, we can do this. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do the other. Yes, we can support it. Yes, we can love it. And they pass it all through, and it's all done, and it's all fine. And they find out 6 weeks later that the dog is on life support. It's about to be put down. And actually, I don't think it's strict enough. What do you think, Claire?
Yeah. But I don't know how, how do they, because I've only had animals when I was growing up. I mean, I haven't got any myself. But I just think, when you go for an animal, if you get it from a rescue centre, if you get it from a breeder or somewhere, how do they then know that you are just then going to give it to somebody else? Do you know what I mean? It's like, you've been checked to say that you're going to have this dog and everything, but then I can go through all them checks and say, oh yeah, you're good in this, but then I'm gonna it's not for me, it's for somebody else. Do you know what I'm saying? Do they? Yeah.
The thing is, what I would personally do if I was running a company, so Kat, you can shut me down completely here because you run a company, is that when you have a child, so when you have a baby, you have a midwife that stays with you for quite a while to make sure that child is okay, the parent's okay. I think that places and companies should have like a contract that says, I'm giving you this dog, or this cat, or this snake, or this whatever, and every 3 months you are checked upon. I will come round, I will see how the animal is, and I think companies should have the right to take that animal back. If they go, no, I'm really sorry, I don't agree with with anything that you're doing, you're not supporting this animal how it's supposed to be supported. I'm scared that it's going to be left in a very, very bad way, and I'm not having that happen. Would you, being a cat lover, would you be happy if a animal member of staff was coming round to your house, Anthony, to check upon it?
Yes, I would be happy. I've got 3 cats. Whether the cats or dogs, a dog's for life, a cat is. They're my family. They're like my children. And I strongly believe that anyone who hurts an animal should face the same punishment as if it was a human being.
Yeah,
I do strongly believe in that.
And I think, which should happen to parents as well, but if you have an animal and you're cruel to it, I don't think that you should ever be allowed to own a pet again.
No, and there's nothing out there. Is there anything out there like that, Kat?
There's just to firstly clarify, I was only saying that there's some charities that are a little bit too tough. Most of the breeders, I think, are too lax, and that there's quite a few who are just doing it for the money rather than the actual welfare of animals.
I think that's where I was disagreeing with you. I don't think the charities are too tough. I think they need to be tougher than what they are at the moment.
Yeah. But it is difficult because there's been a few who, not necessarily what dogs we've had in, but a few we've known who you sort of look at and you think, I don't think your owners are doing what's best for you. But there's nowhere to turn. There's, unless the dog is physically coming in, or, you're seeing the dog that's actually, someone's actually hitting it and you can get video evidence of that pet being beaten or, its rib cage sticking out. There's certain, there's some bits that if you just have an inkling, when you see someone, it's sort of like, the way the dog interacts, you don't think, that's, they've got a good relationship, and that there's some things the person said that, sort of send flags up. Whereas with a child, you could potentially phone social services and say, look, I've got some worries about this. You could phone the RSPCA with a dog, but, you could phone the council with a dog, but there's sort of the amount of times, we've tried to do it and it's, people are too busy or you don't have enough evidence.
Right, okay. So what do you think about, Kat, let's go back to you actually. What do you think about having this contract? So to have if you take out an animal, you take a contract with that company that you take out. That contract allows the company to take the animal back at any point if they don't think they are being treated fairly enough.
I think that, I think they should take the, I think that would be a good plan, because it would, insist that people would, take better care of their pets and that the pets are cared for well. And I think as well with breeders, they need to start it should be, written into law that if you're a breeder, you need to do a home check for people and seriously talk about the fact that whether the dog is actually, that breed of dog is right for your family. And even if you maybe don't get the sort of, £13,000 that you're looking for that type of dog, at least then that puppy that your dog, you've bred into this world is going somewhere well, rather than, to be either mistreated or then given into the rescue system.
But Anthony, do you think it's more about animals these days, or is it more about making money?
I generally think it's about making money. You've only got to look at the amount of people that are getting the dogs stolen off them by people, because I don't know, before lockdown, for example, let's say a dog was worth £1,000, probably worth £4,000 now. It is. But going back to breeders, when we bought our cat last year, we bought a Savannah and we got it from a breeder, and the breeder did come around our house to check that we'd got enough room in the house, that the garden was big enough. They said they're very active animals, they will test your patience at times, they need a lot of attention, and they were brilliant, the breeders were. I couldn't fault them. for the advice they gave us. And even if we have a problem now, we can ring them and they'll help us. But touch wood, we haven't.
But I just find it utterly ridiculous. Claire, let's go to you, because I find it really, really utterly ridiculous. If you found you work with children, as you said on the show, if you found social services and that all they said to you was you haven't got enough evidence, how's that right? How's that? Do you know what I mean? They're still a living.
Oh yeah, definitely. And again, like with children, you put something like that in. Like say, like I said that a colleague was mistreating a child, then that colleague, even if not guilty, you know, goes through horrendous stuff and then probably can't work again. You know, so I think that something should be done, but again, it's how they're going to monitor it, you know, because people are always moving and things like that. So I do like the little red book idea. That's what you get when you have a baby. Do you know what I mean? And get its little weight and that checked. But I don't know how it could be monitored, because again, you'd need somebody to monitor it, which again is more money and things like that. But again, an animal is, you know, part of people's lives, you know, and a lot of them do class it as their baby. So, you know, why can't
I 100% agree
like
with you. So that does lead me on to the second question. Do you find this even more shocking because we're just coming out of all of you didn't notice the spelling mistake in my email.
I did.
I did.
Yes, and I just thought it's Nick, and I understand what he's saying.
I'll read it to you. Do you find this one more shocking because we're coming out of kick down? Not lockdown, we're coming out of kick down. Kick down and being lockdown, obviously, and being at home. Do you think there should be a harder punishment? So, Kat, let's come over to you. Do you think something by law needs to be in place, like this contract that we talked about? Would you be happy as a pet breeder, a pet owner, a business?
We don't breed, we just look after.
Sorry. Would you be happy if you heard there was a law that you could take out a contract with people that allows you to take that animal back if you are not happy?
I think that would be a good plan, and that also, you know, places like, you know, doggy daycare centres, you know, if they, you know, if say like, you know, in a sense, we're sort of like a school for children, you know, school for dogs, just without the education side. So more like a nursery, you know, like when you've got a little baby. And if you've got a baby in a nursery and you have you know, you say like you have issues, you do phone up social services to start off with. So I think, you know, potentially the first thing, you know, there should be a law so that if, you know, us as a doggy daycare, you think, well, there's something there. Yes, you know, yes, there should be someone to talk to. If the breeder finds out, or the rescue centre finds out that there is any sort of mistreatment, that pet is then taken back in. And I think it would, you know, if breeders and rescue centres were able to take the pet back in if it had been mistreated, it would give an ease to say the government for actually, you know, giving this law into, you know, putting a law in place, because potentially the worry is, you know, so obviously there's not a lot of dogs, but, you know, not sort of, there's more good people than there are bad, but for the ones who are mistreating their dogs, they're going to end up with a lot of dogs and not very much space to do, you know, what they're going to do with them. Whereas if, like you said, they had a contract in place that the breeder would have to take the dog back, then there is somewhere for that dog to go that's safe.
The other thing is, Anthony, when you see maybe sometimes no fault of their own, and this is quite a difficult question, when you see somebody on the streets with maybe a pet that's next to them, it's usually a dog, maybe do you think there should be something in place where that dog's removed?
Yes, because it's not down on the dog, is it? Okay, everyone goes through hardship in life. how many of these people have brought it on themselves. I just see it as the dog's the sympathy vote. Get people to give them money. I do. Like I say, I'm passionate about my pets. They're my kids, and if any harm comes to them, then I'd be seriously distraught. I would. So yeah, animals do need protecting. But I think the problem is because they're not humans and they can't speak to us. That's why the law's all different. But as far as I'm concerned, an animal should be treated like a human being. If you harm a human being, it's ABH, GBH, whatever, should be the same for as an animal. You should get the same punishment.
And a bit like Ofsted, Claire, a bit like Ofsted just, well, I was just about to say a bit like Ofsted just turn up. They don't turn up, they give you plenty.
Yeah.
But that could be a good topic that I might be talking to you about in a couple of weeks. But do you think the pet owner and the pet owner's contract should allow the person just to turn up? No pre-warning, turn up at the door, knock, I want to see this animal.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Well, why not? Because if you've got nothing to hide, then why not, allow them, well, not necessarily into your home. You could bring the dog, to the door or something. But yeah, they've got something to hide personally if they wouldn't let them in, wouldn't they?
Well, I just think that I just find it even more shocking, really, because we've been in lockdown. We've been in lockdown for over a year now, and I just think I'm not excusing it at all. I wouldn't excuse it, but everybody has busy lives. Everybody's busy. Everybody's here now and everywhere, and I'm not excusing that animal cruelty is fine, but a dog could be quite low priority on your list. Or maybe, I'm not saying every animal, that's another thing. Kat, I'll come over to you in a second. I'm not saying every neglected animal is a human abuser. What if, in this contract, you saw that this person absolutely adored this animal, but just needed help? Do you think there should be a state government fund for that to happen, so people can come in and support that animal?
Yeah, I think there should be, and I also think there should be something sort of like mandatory. If you do get a dog, you should take it to some sort of training as well, so that there's, it's like you have a kid and you send the child to school. You either have to homeschool, you can choose to homeschool, you can send them to a private school, or you can send them to a state school. But they have to, between the ages of 4 and 18, be in school. Why shouldn't you with a pet? You get a puppy. The puppy doesn't know, what's right from wrong. And you see people, people walking down the street, and any dog could be vicious if it's not trained right. Why isn't there something saying that, you should be taking your dog to at least sort of like a, starter training course, just so you can get the basics in, and it also then helps to socialise your dog as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, Claire, would you report a friend or family member if you knew they would be using their animal, or would you be brave enough to face them?
Both, I think. Again, if it's somebody that I know, like a friend or family, then I would hope that I could approach them and just say, what on earth's going on? Or if I felt that I couldn't, then yeah, I think I would report them. Yeah.
Would you just go over and say what on earth's going on, have your say and disappear? Or would you go over and say what on earth's going on, how can I help?
Oh, definitely. I wouldn't just like say, what's going on, what you're doing, and then walk away. I would ask them if I could help. What's going on. Depending on the situation. I mean, if they're beating the animal, then that's totally wrong. If they're not feeding it, is that because they haven't got enough money or something? But I'd hope that as a family member that I would know if they was going down that road anyway. you know, and hopefully as a friend, but you don't know, you know, and especially in lockdown, because you're not allowed to go into people's homes and that. But I just think I would report them for the health of the animal, you know.
That's the other thing, isn't it? Finance, really, Kat. So if someone comes to you and says, yes, I can afford a dog, and then they can't afford the dog, do you think there should be some sort of system where you'll be able to look at people's finances?
I think there should be, you know, when you first getting the dog, rather than just someone saying, you know, yes, I can afford to look after this dog, that there should be some sort of financial check to make sure, because, you know, people don't like admitting that they don't have a lot of money. And if they think they want to get a dog, then, you know, you could have people who might, you know, say like tell a fib that they do have enough money and actually don't. Or not actually realize the financial implications of a dog. They might just think, you know, oh, it's a cute pet that I walk and I've got to feed, and not realize that, you know, the insurance, or if you don't insure it, the potential vet bills, you know, the flea, tick and worming pills that you've got to have for the dog, you know, depending on how big the dog grows, the sheer amount of food that the dog will eat, you know, and down to the toys, the poo bags that you've got to...
Big bags.
Yes. So, you know, I think some people just think, oh, cute dog, and, you know, it will just need a bit of food.
I just had the worst image in my head when you said big bags. Thanks, Claire. I just the worst image in my head ever. Anthony, as a pet owner, would you be happy to show your finances to somebody that you're thinking about taking an animal off?
If like say, if we went to a breeder and the breeders said, right, we need proof that you can afford this animal, then yeah, I would show them evidence.
Would you also report somebody? That you knew were abusing a dog, or would you take the opposite approach first and approach them and talk to them?
I'd like to think if it's a friend or a family member, I'd approach them.
It's easier said than done, though, isn't it? We can all sit here and go, yes, of course I would knock on the door and go across the road and talk to them, but it's quite a sensitive subject, really, isn't it?
But if I knew a family member that was abusing a dog or a friend, then I would take the dog off them and then report them.
Wow, that's drastic.
I would.
That's
if I knew a dog was in trouble, I would take that dog off that person and report them.
Yeah. Tell us what you guys think anyway. Are you pet lovers? Would you be happy to sign up to a contract? Would you also be happy if people were looking into your finances? And do you think there should be a harder system, where me and Kat disagree, where you think there should be a harder system where we'll be able to see if you can look after that animal or need professional help? Have your say. Make sure you have your say on our polls, because your opinion is just as important as ours. So our final subject, we are talking to Get Ready to Wave, because people are now forgetting to wave, so Get Ready to Wave panel. We are talking about Ingamels this evening. Good evening, Ingamels. And our very, very last subject this evening, Fantasy Island. Oh my word, I loved it as a kid. I absolutely loved Fantasy Island. Fantasy Island Amusement Parks opened its doors in Ingamels on Monday, and visitors were welcomed with a brand new speed ride to try out. The Costa Resort opened again at 11 a.m. on Monday, the 12th of April, as part of the government roadmap out of coronavirus lockdown, which allowed the outdoor venues such as theme parks to return to business. A lot of work has been going behind the scenes at the theme park to ensure visitors would enjoy their return, and it saw the first official tryout of the new spinning racer ride. and it's been a big shot, supposedly. It's been something that's massive. And first of all, just out of the blue question, Kat, are you a roller coaster thrill seeker fan?
Yes.
Oh my word, are you really?
Yeah.
I'm so boring when it comes to theme parks. I'm so boring. What about you, Claire? Are you up for a thrill?
Well, like I say, when I was younger, yeah, anything like roller coasters, waltzers. But now I'm getting older, I still love like the roller coasters, but the spinnies, if it's like a waltzer, I can't do that now. That just makes me feel sick. I'll go on with my daughter, and I can remember going on with my mum, and my mum used to, her head would go back because, of course, with the force, and she'd just scream, ah, like that. And it's quite funny now because if I go on with my daughter, that's me. I'm like that going, ah, because no. But I do like if we go to Alton Towers and that, I like, you know, the big things there.
Yeah. Are you a thrill seeker, Anthony?
No, I used to be. It's quite interesting though, because when Fantasy Island first opened at Ingham Wells, I had a family member who was the managing director of the place, and I went to the grand opening, and it was a great day. All the rides, everything, the entertainment, and back in, I'm trying to think when it was now, 1995, 96. They had the virtual reality rides. It was all brand new, whereas you'd never seen things like that before.
No.
As I've got older, no.
When I was absolutely petrified of rides when I was young. I've got a bit braver since getting older. Not that old, but since getting older, I've got a bit braver. But I do remember, and I'll never forget it as long as I live, Skeg Vegas. I'm going to talk about you for 1 second. I don't know if they still do it, so let me know if they do, but they used to do once a year on fireworks night. They used to have a set of fireworks that go off on the beach, and then the fair was open. Fair was open longer than usual, and you could get a band, so you could go on every single ride. So I was a bit boring. My sister was more adventurous. My blood father would never go on any rides. He couldn't even swim. And so he wouldn't ever go in a pool. I've never had an experience in a pool or water with my dad at all, because he just wouldn't do it. But we did these fireworks and we got chips and this, that, and the other. We went into this theme park, and my mom, it's the most tiniest, I don't know if I've told the story, but it's the most tiniest ghost train you have ever seen in your life. So my mum was stood there 10 or 15 minutes. Come on, Nick, please come on this with me. No, Mum, I'm not doing it. I'm not going on that. Stop being a scaredy pants. No, I'm not doing that. And she finally convinced me to go on this ride. So I sat down, belted up, getting ready to go, and I kept going to Mum, I'll be all right with it. Yeah, you'll be fine. I'll be all right with it. Yeah, you'll be fine. And it started to go, and the doors opened, and no word of a lie, my mum was like this all the way through. So I was sat there, scared out of my skin, like screaming. And I kept saying, Mum, put your hands down. No, I'm not looking. We're supposed to be supporting me. I'm not supposed to be supporting you. And the doors opened to the end so you could see the light. My mum went, oh, that was really good, wasn't it? How do you know you didn't see any of it? Can you remember... Claire, it might be quite a way back for you, so I do apologise. But can you remember going to your first fair and how you felt? Claire, let's go to you first.
I can't remember.
You can't?
I can't remember my first fairground. Come on. I'm lucky if I can remember what I did last week.
First fair you can remember then?
Oh, I don't know.
First adventurous fair that you went to?
I don't know. Probably when I was little on the little things that just go round, you know, but not adventurous ones. I don't know. I really can't remember my.
Is this in the year 1066?
Is this what?
Is this in the year 1066?
Probably, yeah. I'm sorry, my memory's just shocking.
Was the Battle of Hastings your first fair?
Yes, and I did really well because I'm still here.
What about you, Kat? Can you remember your first adventure fair that you went to?
First sort of like proper fairground wasn't actually that long ago, because unlike everybody else, even I love roller coasters now, but as sort of like sort of like as a kid, I hated them. So I only started going to, say, fairgrounds with my partner's children.
Right.
So I think first one was about 3 years ago, down on Sleaford Wreck.
Wow. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, particularly as his then 4-year-old daughter dragged me onto the waltzers.
Oh, I couldn't do that. You're braver than me. I couldn't do that.
The waltzers themselves were fine, but I didn't think the bar came up far enough on her, and I was petrified she was going to go flying out this waltzer.
I hate the waltz. I've never done them. I look at them and think, no way, I'll throw up my guts. I can't do it. What about you, Anthony? Can you remember your first thrill-seeking ride?
Yeah, I think it was the Nemesis at Alton Towers.
Was it? Oh, you're brave with it. Is that the one that hangs over the edge?
No, that's Oblivion.
Oh, I can't. No way can I do that.
I'll never forget it, because I stood in the queue and I was literally shaking, but I was with friends and I thought, I can't bottle out here, I've got to go ahead. And I was shaking and I'm sat there thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing, Anthony? And I came off it and went on it 3 times more.
Oh, I had an ex-partner like that could ride and ride. That sounds really wrong, doesn't it? But can ride and ride and ride for hours and hours upon end. My first that I can remember, I was married in 2012. I think this is new information I'm giving out this evening. I was married in 2012 and went for the first time to Alton Towers because my ex-partner wanted to go. And it wasn't that experience. So when my marriage broke down and all fell apart and this, that and the other, and I remember being round at my mum's house one day and they said, do you want to join us for a day out? And I said, yeah, where are we going? Oh, I don't know yet. And my sister said, oh, can we go to Alton Towers? I was like, really? Can you not think of anywhere else but Alton Towers? Went to Alton Towers and I have been on, has anybody heard of 13?
Yeah.
13 looks like a really easy roller coaster from the edge of things, and it looks so easy. And so I remember again, my mum, my mum's going to kill me, she watches this show. My mum said, I said to my mum, she doesn't like that. So we got to 13 and I said, I really want to go on 13. And I told my sister Katie what happened, but I hadn't told my mum because she wouldn't have gone on it. And so I said to mum, look, it's really easy. Look, it goes, she says, what happens when you go into that tunnel there then? So I said, you go into that tunnel and then you get off and you go down the stairs and you get off, and that's what happens. What a liar I am. So what happens is you go in, it's quite scary as you queue up because it counts up to 13 and there's cracking and there's noises going off and it's quite scary. And my mum was sat behind me with my sister and I was just in the coach on my own, and I was at the front because at that point I didn't care because I had done it. So I think it's just the anxiety of doing it for me. Once I've done it, I'm fine. And we go into this tunnel, and what I didn't tell her is the roller coaster falls apart and it drops 10 feet. And then you go backwards and you come out. And so we got into this tunnel and Mum went, that wasn't so bad, was it? I went, no. And it does that. It's like the braking noise of a roller. And she went, what the hell's happening? What's going on? And it fell and it dropped. Honestly, I had to apologise to the man sat in front of her because I think she must have splattered his head about 5 times because she screamed that hard. I have never heard her scream that hard in my life. That's how she never trusted me on a ride again. Are you into fast and exciting, or nowadays is a day at the theme park a worse idea than ever for you? Let's go to you first, Claire. If I came round to you now and I said, right, Claire, we're off to a theme park, thrilling or boring?
No, really exciting, but it's the expense. Do you know what I mean? It is a lot of money. Like, you go to a theme park, you usually pay to get in and then the rides are free. But you go to, say, Fantasy Island, and yeah, you can get wristbands and things. But like, even one ride, you know, for like the big ones. I mean, I don't know how much they are. It's probably £5 each. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And, you know, like Alton Towers and places like that, unless you get like a buy one, get one free, it can work out really expensive. But if you're offering, when we're going, because, yeah, I'm up for it. Hey!
Well, the thing is, my friend from Willick went to Fantasy Island, and she took 2 of their children wasn't that fussed about rides, and then 2 of the children were fussed about rides. So she paid like this thing where you only get charged if you go on a ride. So she gave the children that weren't fussed about that, but the thrill seekers gave them the all-inclusive. She spent 70 quid.
Yeah.
70 quid on just paying for those rides.
And I bet you it was a couple of hours,
yeah,
you know, whereas at least like Alton Towers and things like that.
Theme park-wise, it's not that big, is it? It's not. It's not at all. What about you, Kat? If I said, right, I'm on the way to pick you up, we're off to the biggest theme park in the world. Excited or no thanks, Nick? See you soon.
Nowadays, definitely, you know, let's go. But if you told my 10-year-old self that, they'd be like, no, go and hide into a bed.
What about you, Anthony? If I called around and said, I'm taking you for a ride today, how would you feel?
I'd ask you to rephrase that.
If I said we're going to the theme park for the day, would you be excited or would you be like, no thanks, Nick, see you soon?
I wouldn't be mega excited or anything, and I probably wouldn't go on many rides, but it's
My final question, though, is: do you think theme parks and fairs are now outdated? Do you think it's not something that you use in the olden days? In my day, the saying that I hate. In my day, a fair and a theme park was something quite regularly that you did with the family. Do you think it's all a bit outdated now and it doesn't happen anymore? Let's go to you first, Claire.
I don't think it's outdated. I just think it's got more expensive. So whereas you might have back in the day gone more regularly because you could afford it, but I just think, and it depends on how many of the family are going, you know, because say like Alton Towers, you know, you go as a family and it can be really expensive, you know, and then you've got to eat as well when you're there, which, yeah, you can take picnics and things like that, but it becomes more of a, you've got to plan it more, you know, whereas back in the day, you probably didn't have to do as much.
Kat, would you choose with your family a day out at the theme park in the year of 2021?
Yeah, we've I think, you know, I do agree with Claire that it has got a lot more expensive, and I think, you know, we'd probably go, if it was cheaper, we'd probably try and go sort of like, particularly in the summer holidays, to a theme park 2 or 3 times, you know, because the kids like it. We've taken them to Twin Lakes quite a few times when the fair used to come over. They used to like going to that. Obviously, the fair hasn't been over since, you know, COVID hit. So that's also taken a, you know, hit from that. And then we do try and go to Legoland once a year.
Oh, so I've never been. That's somewhere I do want to go.
Yeah, but, you know, we probably go to say, you know, they really enjoy it when we go. And not going as much makes it more special. But if it was cheaper, we would go more often.
Do you think, Anthony, we go as adults because it reminds us of what it lets us and allows us to be children for a couple of hours?
Yeah, it does. I'd love to go to Legoland. I'm just a big kid.
Yeah.
And it's just slightly changing subject, but a few years ago I went to Secret Cinema in London, and it was Star Wars, and we all had to dress up in character, and you met all the characters, and you actually were part of the film. And I took my father with me because he took me to see Star Wars when I was a little kid in the cinema and bought me all the toys. And I took him, and the two of us were just like two big kids. It was just unbelievable. And this is escapism, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Does your job role allow you to be a big kid, Claire?
My job what?
Does your job role allow you to be a big kid?
I thought you said a bit kinky. Sorry, I better. That's why I went quiet. Oh my.
Does this show come with an 18 rated?
Yes, and that's why I love the job. Definitely, because I am just a big kid. Yeah, I love it. I really,
Claire,
really do.
are you a bit kinky as well?
Well, not when I'm at school, no, but so yes, I love it. I love being 4.
Guys, unfortunately, that brings us to the end of our show this week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for letting us keep you company this Tuesday evening. Remember that Instagram thing at Loose Links. Make sure you take loads of pictures and show us how you watch the show. If you are interested in being anything to do with Loose Links, we have a production team. It doesn't mean that you have to be a panellist. We are looking for researchers, photographers, loads and loads of options available. Please get in touch with us. Offer what you have and we might be able to take you up. It'll be really, really interesting to have. Can you thank my panel this evening? She sure is, Puppy Love. That's Kat Cornter.
Bye.
She's a bit kinky. That's Claire Brown and May.
Bye.
And over from the dark side, quite literally this evening, is Anthony Walker.
Bye.
And keeping them all in line and not talking dirty is me, Nicholas James. Join us next week as we've got a lot more conversation, a lot more chat. And do you know what? We quite enjoy it. Thank you for joining us this evening. I will see you very soon. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.